I wanted to talk a little bit more about what we mean by all learning counts under South Carolina homeschool laws for option 3 homeschooling. So, the law states you have to cover those 5 basic subject areas within your 180 learning days, but it doesn't state how often and it doesn't restrict you from adding in electives. So that's one thing we mean by all learning counts. If you're going to add in arts and crafts, music lessons, and electives such as foreign language, that also can count as one of your learning days. Another thing we mean by that is that all learning counts in the sense of field trips. It is very easy to make a field trip cover one of those 5 basic subject areas. You don't have to. You could just count a field trip as a field trip and a learning day. Another thing we mean by that is you're not restricted to only count learning that comes from a textbook. There is a lot of families that don't even use a textbook. They do more hands-on learning, they do science experiments, they do real-life learning with cooking in the kitchen, going on field trips, job shadowing, and when they get to the high school level, documentaries, online learning games, board games, it all can count as a learning day. You're not restricted to use just a textbook or just an all-in-one curriculum for homeschooling under option 3. So we like to take a lot of field trips. This year it's a little bit more difficult because of the pandemic, but we still are able to find some outdoor learning experiences and outdoor field trips. So when we go on a field trip for my lesson plans, I simply just put field trip on that day and I don't try to make it fit. Sometimes I will if it's like a really good field trip and it will really count as a subject, but other times I just put field trip and I have a list of where we went and the dates. That's fine. That'll count as a learning day. Something I also like to do with our homeschooling routine is add in more life skills. So one of the life skills we do every Friday is cooking or baking in the kitchen together. This is an important life skill. Eventually, my children are going to be grown and they're going to have to learn how to cook for themselves. So every Friday, we find a recipe online, we make the list of what we need from the supermarket, and then we start cooking together. So when they're reading a recipe, that's reading. That'll count as reading. When they're writing down the list of ingredients, there you go, writing. When they're making a list of how much each item will cost, when they're measuring the ingredients, that's mathematics. And then even mixing the ingredients together, that can count as science, with the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. And then another thing we try to do sometimes is if the dish that we're making or anything we're making is Italian or French, then we'll go look up more about that country and look at their culture and look at their language and listen to something in that language. Look at the geography, look up a video, just exploring the country. So that's another thing we mean with all learning counts. It's a life skill, but it also can count under those umbrella subjects. You're not restricted on how the learning can be. Board games can count, online learning games. It all can count. So there's a lot of flexibility out there with option 3, and I just wanted to go over that a little bit more with what we mean by all learning counts, especially with new homeschooling families. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.